to the next episode of Don't Fear the Weight podcast with me in my little cupboard with all of my glorified lights that you can see. Guys, if you can't see my lights, well, you're missing out. But, you know, it is purple. And I'm wearing an AC/DC t-shirt. So it's all of the anabolism today. Anyway, for this episode of Don't Fear the Weight, I have got a very special guest. And it is going to be something a little bit different than what we normally have done in the past, talking about training and nutrition and PEDs and various other bits like that. We are going to be talking about the mindset of an athlete. And to help basically delve into everything, everybody knows that I'm full of hippie woo-woo shit. But to help me talk about some more hippie woo-woo shit is my good friend, Mr. Matt Gallagher. Matt, how are you, my love?
I'm good, thank you, Vicky. It's good to be on, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. So we have a combined athlete together that we realistically haven't worked alongside each other with, but we're part of her multidisciplinary team, and that is pro MMA fighter Meg Morris. Big strong Meg, who has just won her first pro fight, which was absolutely incredible. First round, 1 minute 29 seconds by a submission via armbar. Just to throw that out there, because she's going to want me to like throw that in, which was absolutely brilliant and one of the best takedowns that she's ever done in her life, which again is just phenomenal. But Matt, rather than go into what we've done in terms of multidisciplinaries, just tell everybody about who you are, what you do, and what you specialize in.
Yeah, so I'm a life coach, but kind of life coach where I specialize in mindset. My background is I've been a paramedic, well, been with the ambulance service, I'm a paramedic for 15 years, and I've been an expedition medic, worked sort of in Central America and Africa. And cut a long story short, basically, so 2 years ago, I ended up suffering with mild PTSD from the job. And instead of kind of going down a spiraling downward slope, I just threw myself into sort of personal development, really. And it's something that I've always been interested in. But after what I've gone through, and then started researching it more and just I was just getting in touch with as many people as I could. I was doing as many courses as I could. I qualified as a life coach, and that's where it's taking me now. So I'm having a bit of an endurance athlete background, sort of working with athletes and that type of person has always been interested in where I want to go, really. So that's me.
That's you in a nutshell. Fair enough. Yeah. Okay, so let's actually get into the mindset aspect of things. So with you saying that you are a life coach, let's take a fighter, for example, not Meg, obviously, specifically, but let's take a fighter. When they come to you, what are some of the problems that you find these athletes coming to you with?
Well, it can be a number of things, but it all sort of ties into one. And if we think that mindset is how we live our lives, so 96 to 98% of what we do is mindset. The rest is strategy. And a lot of the time when we might be wanting to achieve a goal, but we're always coming up against barriers and things, and they're basically the blocks, the limiting beliefs that we have in our mind. So working on those, showing people how to, we are creatures of habit. And if we're constantly doing the same things because of the bad habits that we've got and the bad thought processes that we have, then we're going to end up with the same results. And you've probably heard the saying, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Correct. So if we look at the results, and we can say, well, if we're always getting this result, how can we change it? So, whether it's a fighter or, a bodybuilder, or we can always better ourselves. And it's purely through the mindset that we're going to do that. Because if we can have a bad day, and everybody has bad days, but if you're constantly going into the gym or it doesn't matter where you are in life and you're just doing the same thing and having that same, why is that always happening to me? I can't do this. I'm just going to, then we're always going to get the same result.
Totally.
So just looking at paradigms, and our paradigms are our subconscious mind, and it will always revert back to negative because it's familiar. We want to be safe. That goes back to our prehistoric mind, where we look for safety. And if you think about children, children like to be familiar. They like the same drink. They want the same food. You want the same bedtime story. And yet, as we become adults, we still have that same pattern of thought. So we've got to make the familiar unfamiliar.
So how do you break getting away from the favorite story then?
You've got to, it's to reprogram the mind. It's all about, first of all, working on finding out what that blockage is. What's that limiting belief? And then recognizing it. And then actually having awareness. And awareness is so important because we can just bumble along in life and just let our thoughts and I'm feeling like this today. But why are you feeling like that? And feelings come from our thoughts. So you've got your conscious mind that does the thinking and the subconscious mind that creates the emotion.
Yeah.
And where emotion flows, energy goes. And if we've got bad emotions, then we're going to have negative energy.
Do you know what? That's it. A lot of hippie woo-woo. It's such an interesting one, because I actually said this to a guy in the gym today. So I was doing legs, and so was he. And it's a young lad, and he trains with his dad. Now I know his dad because he spots me on a number of things, and we were just having a little bit of a back and forth. And his lad was obviously going to do this leg press, and he just gave up. He gave up and he shook his head and he was like, oh no. I was like, mate, you had loads left in there. He pressed up the sled and it just moved. I was like, come on, you've got loads left in there. Just grab the effing handles and just fucking press it. And he did. And, he repped out like another 9 reps. 9 reps, and it was just because me and his dad were just sat there. We were shouting at him, going, just do another one, and he was really pushing it. And when he stopped, I said to him, it's interesting how your mindset will quit before your body will.
Oh, totally.
Oh, all the time, your mind every 4 seconds is going to say, you can't do anymore. You can't do anymore. You can't do anymore until you kind of go, okay, fine. I can't do anymore. But it's your muscle that's just going to carry on going and going. Look at all of these endurance runners. I've got a few endurance people on my books, and it astounds me what their body does. Like full on astounds me. But it's their mindset that just kind of like powers them through that kind of shit, especially when they hit that windbreak, and it's like, I've got to get past it.
Yeah, well, having come from running 4 ultramarathons myself.
Rather you than me, Matt, I put it that way. The sort of mental battle that I used to really enjoy, the sort of battle between my brain and my body screaming to stop. But there's so many factors that get thrown in as well, where you're running through the night or, weather, and everything sort of changes when you don't want it to usually. Yeah, exactly that. Pit stops are bad, you get a stomach issue or whatever like that. There's so much that goes on. Your mindset is so powerful. I wanted your thoughts on something, because this is quite big in the bodybuilding realm, and quite a lot of our listeners are bodybuilders and power athletes. Yeah. So your thoughts on using rage and using anger in order to get a 1 rep max, as opposed to feeling more zen and feeling more happy.
Yeah, so anger and they are powerful emotions, and they're not to be pushed to one side. Mm-hmm. But it's having that control. If we're going to use those emotions, then we have to make sure that we've got them under control. But again, it goes back. So if you're doing a 1 rep max, then how are you feeling before you're going into that? What are you visualizing? You know, if you're going in with the thought process of actually seeing yourself doing it, knowing what that's going to feel like, what's the emotion going to feel like when you've done it, then have that in your mindset already. And you know, excuse me, talking about like use Meg as an example. I know she wasn't lifting, but she already won that fight hundreds of times in her head before she even got in the ring, and it's something that we really strongly weight on. But if you're using visualization, it's not just about thinking about it. You've got to visualize it in as much detail as you can. What's it going to sound like? What's it going to smell like? What's it going to feel like? And just use all your senses and bring it in as much detail as possible, and know that you are going to, you know, so if you're going to go and do that one rep, then that you've got to believe in yourself 110% that you're going to do it.
Absolutely. It's crazy because so I'm an international powerlifter, and or I used to be back in my heyday. And for people who haven't actually noticed that about me, I do still have my Commonwealth medal up here. I can't see it because I can't actually tilt the screen, and I'm not going to take it off the wall, but it is there. And when I did the Commonwealth, it was exactly that. And I'm a complete dickhead at heart. I love being a dickhead because I love humor. And I think that life is too short not to be happy and not to be humorous throughout everything. So
it's another key. It's another key to success.
Totally. You know, understanding that you need to be happy and you need to make life livable. You know, life is for living, not for just being serious all the time. And if something makes you unhappy or something holds you back through that unhappiness feeling, you just need to change it. And by changing it, you feel a hell of a lot better and you propel yourself in life. I love all this hippie woo-woo shit. It's absolutely brilliant. Everyone's like this goes, oh, cringe. But I'm like, nah, I really like it. So anyway, when I went to the Commonwealth, I saw myself bench my record bench, and I moved it better than I ever have done. And I visualized my setup, my walk to the platform where actually I danced. I had my favorite music on, which was The Little Mermaid, Under the Sea. People had all of this rage music and heavy metal and mosh. And I just kind of like do a crab walk on like this, under the sea, you know, and it's just fun. And people actually didn't like me for that. They disliked me because they thought I was being disrespectful to the sport. And I'm like, I'm not. It's a sport that I love. So if it's a sport that I love, why should I be angry at it? The bar is an inanimate object that I am going to be in control of. And I want it to do nice things for me. I don't want it to be angry at me. So why should I be angry at it? And so that was my foresight for it. And I still use that now. You know, I don't get angry at weights now.
It's the perfect way to be. And it's so important about you saying that about being happy, because if you're not happy in this moment now, then, you know, there's a thing of saying if you're depressed, you're thinking about the past. And if you're anxious, you're worried about the future. Yeah. So, and it's all about living for this moment that we're in now. And we talk about woo-woo stuff, but I'm afraid if you look at any successful person in any walk of life, they all understand mindset.
Totally.
You know, it doesn't matter what you do. It's all about the words and pictures that you put in your head. Inner speech is silly.
Indeed,
in fact,
yeah.
If you want to try a little experiment with me, Vicky.
Let's do it. I like experiments.
There's a little test for you. So it's quite simple. All I want you to do is hold your hand out in front of you as if you're holding half a lemon that's been cut in half.
All right.
Nice, big, juicy. Now I want you to close your eyes. I want you to imagine the lemon in your hand. It's cold. It's the biggest lemon you've seen. It's bright yellow. And I want you to bring that up to your mouth, and I want you to bite into that lemon. So just physically bring your hand up and bite into that lemon, and imagine that you're biting. Go and bite it. It's zesty, it's bitter, it's sour. Really chew it, bite the skin. Oh, I can feel it myself. All right, stop there. One question for you. Open your eyes. Did you produce saliva?
Yeah.
Okay, so now my question is, where's the lemon? The lemon's in your head.
Yeah.
So just purely by the thought and the pictures that you started putting in your head, you had a physical and emotional response to it.
Right.
And you thought, oh, hang on a minute, she's eating a lemon. That's bad for my teeth. I'll produce saliva.
Oh, interesting.
All thoughts work. You know?
So those are thoughts. Now, explain to me how that is correlated then to symbolism and association. So if we have a look at the exact same experiment, sorry, I'm actually dribbling. If we have a look, that's embarrassing. If we have a look at the exact same experiment with Pavlov and his dog. So they didn't have the smell when he took the food away. This is all bloody psychology. I love it. They didn't have the smell association, but they had the bell. Now, the bell made them then think that there was food coming, even though the smell wasn't there. The visualization of the food wasn't in front of them. So it was just a sound.
Exactly.
So the sound is still putting the picture into their heads that their food is going to appear.
It's like what I was saying before. It's just using all of the senses.
Interesting.
So certainly, visualization of things that we want to achieve, and just put as much emotion and use your senses as much as you can to get it in there.
Yeah.
And then you start building, and as we do it over and over and over again, we're reprogramming the mind. So the mind is going to expect it. And if the mind expects it, the body expects it. The body gets ready to do what it needs to do because it's already done it.
Yeah. It's so interesting, isn't it? How thoughts can manifest in physical actions.
Oh yeah, and if basically, whatever you're experiencing now come from your thoughts from the past.
It's how you delve into that thought process that actually occurred from that moment. So it's like everybody knows that I've got a history of an eating disorder, and I know the exact moment that actually triggered that eating disorder off. And it's almost like for that moment to actually get past, I needed to forgive the person who said certain words to me in order to get over it, right? Yep. But for somebody who can't identify that specific moment in time that has caused them to have depression, anxiety, that kind of thing, because they've suppressed the memories so much.
Yeah.
How can you coax that out of them? Because it's not as simple as just kind of saying, right, we'll visualize the person in your hand and create some saliva.
If you're suffering with problem, if we're suppressing an emotion, then being aware of it. So when it comes up, actually there's a technique called welcoming, which is from Rhonda Bryan's book, The Greatest Secret. And it's very it's into sort of Buddhism, really, and the sort of Zen way of thinking. But if we and like you said, you forgave the person, and that's such an important thing. Once we forgive, then we can release a lot of sort of built up emotions, anxiety, whatever, depression, whatever that might be. But if we're suffering with something that is bringing us down, then instead of saying, I don't want to feel like this, just actually welcome it. Because they're saying the more that we resist something, the more power we give it. So if you and me were sat in front of each other now and we put our hands against each other's hands and pushed, then there's a resistance there.
Yeah.
But if one of us stops, there's no resistance. So we haven't got that constant battle. And that's what happens with thought processes. And if we've got a feeling that we don't want, and that's that going back to familiarity, because we know how to handle feeling bad about that situation.
Yeah.
No, we don't want to feel bad about that situation, but we're used to it.
Yeah.
So what we've got to then become is using awareness and saying, like I was saying before, we can bumble along and just think our thoughts and, I'm feeling like this today. But why are we feeling like that? And how are we going to change it? Everybody's got a choice. it's our choice on how we want to think and how we want to feel. So as soon as you start being aware of it, just say, okay, I'm not going to resist that thought. I'm not going to resist that feeling. Go and find something that, and just use some distraction technique. And whether that is, just using some exercise and put some music on, even sort of playing with your pet, or, if young children, just anything that's just going to bring a different emotion to you.
Yeah.
Then that's the key. And then the more times that we do that, now you might have to do that 3 or 4 times a day if you're in a really bad day and you've got this constant emotion, but it's being aware of it. And as soon as we're aware of it, we can make a change to it.
For sure. It's so good in terms of like that.
That then starts reprogramming the paradigm.
Yeah,
and eventually you'll start to recognize that, oh, hang on a minute, I've not thought about that for weeks.
That's so cool. So is there like a step-by-step process? Because obviously I know that there's a step process in order to go through grief. I mean, we could talk about this kind of thing all day. And I know that this is just supposed to be an introduction, because I'd like to do a little series about this with you, even if it's just I think it'd be good for people to just kind of like get in and maybe work on some things themselves, like 15-17 minute kind of podcast clips. I've been asked to do that on a number of occasions with certain things, so it would be quite nice to do that one. So this is obviously a holistic overview. So maybe could you introduce almost like the steps of change that we could possibly talk about in an upcoming series?
I think depending on what you're looking to achieve, or whether, there's many ways of, like we've just been talking about, dealing with what, a possible bad situation, or feeling negative in whatever way because of whatever. There's different ways, but if you're looking at athletes, then, what are people trying to achieve, and an athlete, as you know, in the dictionary, everybody it's anybody that's achieving a fitness outcome. So, I'm sure you've got people in your books that are just, they enjoy being in the gym, they want to lose weight, or they want to build a bit of muscle, and they're just doing it for a general fitness. And then you've got your competitors that are working towards winning different competitions. But they do all sort of click into the same. If we use visualization, gratitude is a massive thing.
Oh, absolutely.
People get a bit weird about it, but to actually, I'm sure everybody's grateful for things, and we all are, but it's things that we take for granted. So if you actually do a gratitude practice every day, it reduces stress, it increases mental focus, it reduces cortisol in the body, which then causes inflammation. There's so many health aspects to it. And then obviously looking into the limiting beliefs that you can start to work on. So once you know what your blocks are, then you can start saying, right. And an easy way of looking at blocks is, right, this is where I'm at now. This is where I want to be. And what's the blocks? And we always, that's going back to the same results thing again, because we say, well, I'm doing this and I want to be this, but something's not happening. So that's where you need to look at the blocks, and it's usually a mental block that's doing it.
For sure. That's so good. So daily gratitude, just as like, if anybody, I think people should really practice this from this particular episode that we've done, daily gratitude. So I will share my daily gratitude. My daily gratitude is catching the sunrise and the sunset with my dog. And I do it every morning and every evening, and I snap a picture on my Snapchat. I'm far too old for Snapchat because I have no idea how it works. On my Instagram, and I'll actually put on catching my daily gratitude. And, the interaction that I get from that is quite a lot. So people do come into it. But I think what people can do is share your daily gratitude on your Instagram stories, or write it on a Post-it, say it out loud, and that kind of thing. So take that away. That's the first snippet that me and Matt want you to take away to practice. And On the next episode, we'll go into something else that people can practice to try and enlighten their mindset. Obviously, we're not going to give away all the secrets, but just like little snippets that people can do on a daily basis just to make their life better. So, Matt, just to kind of like end off the first episode, where can people find you? Where can people get in touch with you for your life coaching?
Yeah, so it's Matt Gallagher it's Matt Gallagher Life Coach with an underscore between each word on Instagram, or I do have quite a long-winded website number, but you can find that on my Instagram anyway and go through it. So
no worries.
Matt Gallagher Life Coach on Facebook as well.
Cool. If you ping that over to me, I'll put all of the details underneath the podcast, as we always do, guys. And I'm really looking forward to the next episode. I think it's great to obviously get into these kind of things.
It's fantastic, Vicky. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure having you on. So, guys, as per usual, give us a like, a share, a subscribe, take a stupid picture of us obviously doing this. And then, as you know, there you go. As you know, you might be in for a win of a t-shirt if you do share and tag us both in the podcast when you listen to it. For now, thank you very much for tuning into this episode of Don't Fear the Wait, and I shall catch you next time.